Hello, everyone, and welcome to the OCC's What's Your Story interview. Today, I'm interviewing Katrina Sargent, who is a goal mapping practitioner and co-founder of the OCC. So, hello, Katrina.
Hello, James. It's lovely to see you.
Great, it's lovely to have you here. So, please tell me a little bit about your goal mapping.
Okay, thank you. So I got into goal mapping about 4 or 5 years ago now. And it really did speak to my heart because I heard lots of stories on personal development around, setting goals. And I also knew about the dream boards that people use. And for me, it all seemed a bit, well, the goal map, the goal writing seemed a bit too much hard work for me. And the dream board seemed a bit wishy-washy. So when I met Brian Main, who is the founder of goal mapping, he explained the benefits to actually combining the words and the pictures, and that giving the goal much more power. And it just made total sense to me. It was like the light bulb went off and I was like, wow, I can really get behind this. So I started off by writing my own goal maps. And then all of a sudden things started happening for me. And when I look back on my goal maps, I could see it was because the kind of path that I had sort of put down. And I think that's due to the fact that, our brains do filter so much information. And it's about understanding that, if you focus your mind on a particular thing, that you then sort of start to see opportunities that you wouldn't have necessarily seen before. So that's why I love goal mapping. And I went into the coaching side of it because I could really see this benefiting a lot of businesses, because my passion is, helping businesses to grow. And, some of the people that I'd had one-to-ones with, because I have a lot of one-to-ones being a networker, I could see that, goal mapping could really benefit them, just to give them that clarity. So I don't claim to be a business coach or anything, but I have learned a few things along my journey in business.
Okay, so what kind of businesses do you support with the goal mapping, and how does that work for that business?
Okay, so at the moment I'm concentrating on franchises. Franchisees and franchisors have a very unique business in the fact that the franchisee is buying into the business goals and ethos of an already established brand. And that has massive benefits. But there can sometimes be a disconnect between the business goals of the franchisee and the business goals of the franchisor. And I think sometimes, actually having those conversations and putting together a goal map will actually help them align those core values and what they're wanting to achieve much more cohesively. So that's kind of what I specialize in. But obviously, due to the pandemic and lockdown, I've been coming across a lot of more what I would call one-to-one coaching. So I coach individuals and people that have just been struggling with, seeing where, this pandemic is affecting them and helping them to reestablish, their visions. So that's kind of what I've been doing in this break of the last year.
So does the goal mapping transition across to the virtual world using Zoom and video conferencing as well as it was when you were doing more face-to-face?
Do you know what? It's really weird. I actually think it's better now I've got my head around it, because the goal mapping actually can be done online. And back in the old days, we used to do them on card, and you draw them. And Brian, he was quite resistant to taking on, the online version, but actually it's helping people to feel more relaxed and comfortable about setting their goals, because they can always go back and revisit them and change them easier. So if one picture isn't giving them quite that power that, another image would do, then they can always pop that in, so that their goal map is always evolving. Like life is, you're always sort of moving forward, and you can take your goal maps and move them forward too. So yeah, certainly coaching online has been, really an easy transition once I managed to get my head around actually doing video myself.
Cool, good. So I just want to explore one little more bit with that. So obviously you do a session with somebody and or you have a period of sessions where you build a goal map. How often do you come back and review that, or do you review it with them, or do they move forward on their own and review it, or is it an ongoing long-term relationship type process?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, and it depends on the person. I mean, you can just go up and sign up on goal mapping on the website, which I'll give you the link to, James. But it's like anything. If you can join a gym, but you get better results if you've got a personal trainer. Similar with the OCC, we hold accountability conversations with people. So it just gives people a lot more focus. I do an introduction to goal mapping, which is a 2-hour session, and I talk through the principles of that. And most people will take up a 7-week program, because the 7-week actually gets them to look at their whole life. So we start off with the main goal and the whole person, and then we go round a mandala of, your health and your well-being, your relationships, your finance. So it's sort of like it's, even though people know that they can do that, it's actually having those sessions booked to enable them to explore that with somebody that knows how goal mapping works actually is more beneficial. But I do my goal maps when I'm doing new projects. I'll create a goal map for those. If once a year, I like to look at my life goals and make sure that I'm heading in the right direction. Have things changed? Obviously with COVID, yes, definitely. But yeah, it's just as and when the person, but once you understand the principles, you can just run with it and do it yourself. You don't have to pay for a coach.
Cool, brilliant. So you beautifully segued into my next section there, which is about the OCC. So as the co-founder of the OCC, what inspired you to decide to build an amazing collaborative space like the OCC?
Purely selfish reasons. I have to hold my hands up there. One thing that I really, really struggle with is being self-employed and being a sole trader is actually not having anybody to bounce ideas with, and being comfortable in a space where I've built up solid relationships where I can get good, valuable opinions. I mean, I can talk to the dog about my ideas for business and he'll just happily agree with me. But it's nice to get those different types of, opinions on some of the decisions that you need to make as a business owner. And it's also very lonely, and I am quite I love networking because I love people. So the OCC for me was a way of getting a nice group of people to work alongside for a whole day and just have those water cooler moments, that accountability, for me to grow my business and actually keep me focused on what's important. And I learn things all the time from the OCCers. And I think that is the most valuable part of it.
Right, okay. So obviously the goal mapping itself is like a collaborative process. Mm-hmm. So do you find the collaboration from the OCC pays real dividends?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a wealth of knowledge in the room. Obviously, everybody comes from different walks of life and they have different experiences. But what I find that's really good is if there's a special skill set that I need to tap into, if the OCC community doesn't have it, then they will know, or they'll have some experience to point me in the right direction. And I think that, certainly my relationship with you as the other co-founder of the OCC, actually you bring a lot of different skills to the table to what I can. And I think that there's a nice balance of both. Yeah. And that's really, really important for any business to succeed.
Yeah. So with the OCC, we've talked about, obviously there are co-working days where people come together to collaborate and to be accountable to one another. So does it have are there any other elements that are really important in the OCC?
Yeah, I think the fact that we have a closed Facebook group where it's a safe space to share. At the moment, we're having to meet online, which isn't the same because, when we were back in the old days when we could meet face to face, we had a lovely lunch. And, it was good because you got those sort of like moments of light conversations with people that had really great value. And that doesn't really necessarily come across on a big Zoom event. but I think the closed Facebook group does, because, you know, we put in every month cards to talk about various different topics, and people share their expertise. And I think that that is really valuable. And then also, when you can go back to meet face to face, you know, it's nice to be able to grab a coffee outside of the events as well. You know, it's not just the monthly thing, it is a community that we're building. And there are very good friendships being formed there as a result.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. So this kind of, again, segues nicely back into your goal mapping. So so it looks like I planned this, but it's just flowed naturally. But I'd like to know, obviously you must have an amazing goal map for your life for 2020. So I'd like 2021 rather. I'd like to know, so what gets you really excited about your business in 2021, and where do you see yourself at the end of the year, bearing in mind that we're still in a challenging time?
Yeah, so the collaboration thing that you were talking about, actually, with Jill Gake, who is one of our members of the OCC. She's a business coach, and back in 2020, I invited her to come along to a Brian Main event that we went to in Heathrow just before lockdown in January. And I just wanted to get her opinion, and she absolutely loves goal mapping. So much so that this year she wants to come on as an associate for my goal mapping business. And now I am coaching Jill to become a coach in goal mapping. I mean, she's already a fantastic business coach. And this is going to be another tool in her toolbox, which will hopefully get people to identify the areas that maybe Jill can help support in. Goal mapping is universal. It can be used from, you know, tiny tots in primary schools right through to, you know, older, retired people that are looking to, you know, re-establish where their place is in the world, and everything in between. So for Jill, this is just one element of her business that will enhance her general business offering as the coach. So yeah, I think that for me, it's really exciting because I get a buddy, which is nice. So she can crack the whip at me if we, you know, what we need to do, and we can grow together. And you know, that is really, really important to me. So I'm super excited that Jill is coming on board as one of my associates, and the journey ahead in 2021.
Brilliant. So I'm going to wrap it up there, Katrina. It's been really amazing talking to you. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, you're welcome, James.
And I shall see you at the OCC.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.